Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. Definitely didn't almost forget the name of the YouTube channel for a second there. We are back this summer doing summer franchise lives. Last summer, we did I don't remember all of them. We did Insidious, Conjuring, Underworld, which Kat was a part of. And so they were a ton of fun to get to talk about these franchises. So we are doing Summer Lives again for our franchises in the horror genre. So obviously, everybody knows Steve.
Hi.
Everybody should know me by this point. And then, of course, Catherine Silva, Kat, is with us again tonight, talking obviously not Jaws, right? So giant. Where is? Oh, yeah, over here.
Other way.
Yeah, nothing says summer like shark movies, right? So great way to start off. We're gonna dive in with the Jaws franchise. All of the good, the ugly, the bad, and all the in-betweens. In general, I think we probably all at least agree we really like the first one, but we'll see where the rankings take. Kat, you want to start with your rankings for the films first, and then we'll go Steve, and I'll go last.
Sure. Yes. Jaws, the first Jaws is my number one, of course, because it is one of the most perfect films ever made.
Yes.
I love it to pieces. Just everything about the characters, the dialogue, the way that it's shot. It's just glorious, and I can watch it over and over. My second is actually Jaws 3. And that is because I have crazy nostalgia. I asked for that movie for a birthday present when I was a kid on VHS, thinking it came with the 3D glasses, and it did not come with the 3D glasses. But I still watched it a ton, and it became like my favorite film for a while. And it still holds, you know. I think I've seen that more than any person probably should. and then it's 2. And then it's 4, because because there's a lot going on with 4 that's a little rough when you see where it like came from, and then you see where it ended up. It's like it's really hard if you go into 4 with a sense of this is going to be bad and I want to laugh at it, then you're good, in my humble opinion.
I think that opinion rings true for many.
I don't think that 4 is anybody's. Well, I won't say anybody, I guess, because there's a market for everything, right? But 4 is typically the one being made fun of, you know.
Just do a quick.
That's cool. Shark Movie Podcast. That's what's up. Hi.
Yeah.
In the right place today. Yeah. What's up, Norin? Always nice to see your name pop up. How you doing? How's your summer? 4 gets made fun of a lot, so I get I get that. What's your ranking, Steve?
You know what? I think in all fairness, I'm just gonna go probably quality, and then I'm gonna say my little piece at the end. It's just gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's just very straightforward. I just think the franchise sort of, as it kept going, just kind of dipped as it went. However, I will say that like I was saying before we went live, I found myself enjoying 4 on this rewatch a lot more than I had in the past. I think like sort of like Kat was saying, it's like I went in, I remember it being campy. It's like for somehow the mom has some kind of psychic powers at this point. She could sense the shark's presence.
That's her trauma response. Yeah,
it was so like I love it. I enjoyed it. I mean, I love just how much air Bruce got in this movie.
God.
Just bananas, absolutely bananas. But yeah, no, this was fun to rewatch. There was a stint, like, throughout elementary school where I watched these movies like just traditionally every
Mhm.
not even just elementary school, middle school, high school. I mean, like, I did not miss a summer watching these movies. Uh,
Yeah.
and then I think as time went on, I was like, I'm gonna skip the sequels and just watch the first one this summer. But yeah. No. Oh no. Bruce Scott Angel.
I was gonna say if it goes out, just keep going. Don't stop.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I told you it may do that. If it does, just keep going. Don't stop.
We'll just keep
I
swimming.
thought she was just really quiet for a moment.
Real stoic.
That's not normal.
4 is a dumb blast. It is.
Yeah.
3 is, with 3, and I either tweeted it or put it on Threads. I am still shocked that SeaWorld was like, yeah, good idea. Let's have this
I was
happen here.
thinking the same thing on this rewatch. I was like,
I mean, hit franchise. Why wouldn't they?
It's like if
They
Disney
had no
World was
idea.
like, it was like if Disney was like, yeah, Westworld, do a season here.
They
It's
had no
crazy.
idea what it was going to become, to be fair.
Yeah, 2 is
2 is-
criminally underrated.
2 is
really
underrated.
good.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially as a shark sequel. 2 is awesome.
Yeah.
What's up,
2
Horror Fiend?
is awesome.
Maybe JR. I don't know who's on. Oh, and I did want to give a shout out to Rick from Horror Fiend, who was meant to join us for this. Because he's a big Jaws fan. But he's feeling under the weather. So we love you. We hope you feel better. Yeah, so mine's gonna be potentially sacrilege, but we'll go with it anyway. So my ranking is actually 2, 1, 4, and then 3.
Interesting.
I think and just to be clear, right? I really like all of them. Like I genuinely like, even being that 3 is my least favorite, I still really, really like that one. And I think it was fun. Like obviously, like I never got to see it in 3D, and you can tell when you watch it which parts were specifically for 3D, right? The stuff crying out, and you're like, oh, and like that last minute, the swim through and the breaking of the glass, and it's like super obvious.
There's none of this.
You're right.
Fair.
It's
just, there's no agility. It is just a floating like
fake
bobbing thing.
That's true. I gave it more animation than it actually was. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of animation, was it in 3 the oh my god, the undersea diving thing, the machine?
Oh yeah.
The James Cameron boat.
Yep.
Oh man. Wonderful.
Most of the budget of the film right there.
Guilty. Yeah.
You're
I
in
like
good
you guys.
company, Angel, then.
Yeah.
And your rating.
Yeah, I know it's a hard one, but I mean, obviously, like this is kind of like I don't think it's the first, right? I don't think it's the first shark movie, is it? I think there's probably stuff older than that has sharks in it. I don't know, but it definitely set a precedent for shark films, and may or may not have almost wiped out an entire ecosystem of creatures, but it was very like, it's iconic. It's a statement. It's influential, right? But like, when you think of other shark movies and then you think of sequels to those movies, you really are usually typically prepared for it to be like, but the sequel to Jaws was very, very shockingly good. I don't know that I would have expected it to be that good. I came into that one much later in life. I saw Jaws when I was pretty young, but the sequel I saw much later in life, and it was I was very pleasantly surprised by it overall. Obviously, what do you guys think of the "3 was too cheesy and couldn't take it serious"? Shark had back issues carrying this movie. That's why it's straight.
And then,
yeah, I had a little retro shark movie month. The oldest one I did was 1956, but I know of one. Oh, dang. I don't know of anything prior to Jaws, I don't think. That's insane. I would honestly probably put Jaws 2 over 1 as well. Yeah. I think that's like the thing is like, y'all, what do y'all think of this argument that comes up every summer that Jaws isn't a horror movie?
Oh, it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
But horror is like it's so versatile. I mean, everyone's sort of like,
yeah,
it's not about something that goes bump of the night, so it can't be a horror movie. Like, come on. It's a creature feature. You know, it's not like a mythical creature, but it's an animal. You know, it's a creature.
Yeah.
It's a horror movie.
I actually tell people that I would even go as far as to say that Jaws is psychological horror, because there's a lot of layers to the story of Jaws, as far as like you were saying earlier, Kat, like it's so character driven. Like Bruce is a character. I'll give you that. Like, obviously he's a big part of what makes it work. Sure. But the thing is that the characters are what I think keep our attention in all that space in between shark moments, you know, and like, obviously, you know, the night that they're up on the boat and they're all talking, and like, you know, that's like one of my favorite scenes in a shark movie, and the shark's not in it yet. Right. Like, it's just them talking about stuff and, you know, and they sing their little drunken song, but that scene is like iconic, and it really just covers a lot of different stuff between the characters. And it's really, really well done in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, right from like the sharing of like war scars. I mean, there's a lot about trauma here, right? You know, and the shark represents so much for all three of these characters, you know, representing, I think, right, Brody's, I think, being a family man and wanting to protect his family, wanting to protect his town. There's just a lot of like pressure there. Right, in Hooper, right, there's sort of this like scientific endeavor. It's sort of his like Moby Dick here, right? And I think the Moby Dick metaphor actually kind of works for oh my god, what's our fisherman's name? I'm like
Quint.
blanking on it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
Yes.
What was it, Ann?
Quint.
I don't know. I brain fart on Quint all the time. That's like the one I'm like, yeah, and like that's sort of like Moby Dick, right? So but yeah, no, like the shark represents so much for these three characters. I love it. I sing that drunk song all the time. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. And like, stop. My husband's like, enough.
Yeah. Do y'all remember like the first time you saw Jaws? Like how old you were? Like, remember?
Probably too young.
Yeah, same. It was on TV, you know, TBS or one of those, and they edited out the I think probably the few parts that were extra bloody. But still, it was definitely younger than I probably should have been.
Yeah, because this is PG. This came out before they changed the rating system. Otherwise, it probably would have been PG-13.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And we get like a little bit like brief nudity too. I remember being surprised going from
I always
TV
forget
cut
about that. It's so quick. Like
it's
you
so
just
quick.
don't even.
And they cut it for TV, and then seeing it on tape, or I think it definitely went going from that to VHS. Because remember, was it also one? I can't remember if I'm confusing it with the Titanic double tape VHS, but wasn't Jaws also on a double tape?
No.
I don't think so.
Why am I picturing it? Maybe there was extra features, maybe. I don't know why I'm picturing the VHS box being so big.
No, I only remember it being a single.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're going to catch up on comments real fast.
Yeah.
Norrin loves 2.
Mm-hmm. Adventure
horror, definitely, I think.
Yeah, bare minimum, it's a creature feature. It's a wild ass shark. Like, I don't know. Jaws came out in 1975. Orca is silly though, right? Isn't it like really goofy? I think that's on my list of stuff to watch with Tasha when we start watching silly stuff. Is more thriller too, is pure horror. I could see that. Yeah, because there's more people parts in one, as I call them. Like,
so I don't know if I would agree that 2 is more of like just killing, but at the same time, like Jaws 1 encompasses a lot of different kinds of horror versus just that like I guess for all intents and purposes, like creature feature or even like slasher horror. It's a small town horror.
Yeah.
And it is psychological horror too, like you were saying. It's a little more nuanced horror than it is than the second one, which is just that like be afraid to go back in the water sequel.
Yeah.
You could see in the sequels, right, where there's sort of the pressure to like up the body count and like compete with movies like Friday the 13th in some way, right? Because they're like, well, you know, we got to make, you know, you can't just go on like name alone, and yeah, no, absolutely. I think there is definitely a sort of a competition to sort of be the summer blockbuster horror.
Yeah.
I don't think that, and this is just my thoughts on it. I don't think that if they had done a sequel in the same formula as one, that it would have worked as well anyway, just because we had already been given that, like it was, and it's perfect, like as it is. But I think to try to replicate it for the sake of a sequel probably would have actually ended up feeling, no pun intended, watered down. Like it would have just been one of those things where it's like, oh, okay. Like they needed to do something different, even if it wasn't necessarily like more kills and stuff. But yeah, it definitely, it was gonna, no matter what they did, it was gonna be super hard to beat. Favorite Jaws rip off his blades, a killer lawnmower. Never.
Or some more Orca love. I'll have to like, I've never seen Orca.
Yeah, Orca, I think, but JR, isn't Orca silly? Like, isn't it supposed to be like over the top and funny and like just kind of like, whereas Jaws isn't really funny. It's very like serious and intense. And I think I thought I was thinking Orca was silly, like
a little more parody.
It
did have a double take.
I didn't have that one.
I knew I wasn't making it up. Thank you.
Second dealt with Brody's PTSD.
I love that aspect of that movie.
Yeah. Although the mayor learned nothing.
No.
Like nothing.
I think that probably frustrated me the most on the rewatch, to not realizing how just doomed to like repeat history. This whole, like, not the mayor and the whole freaking town council. They were just like, you know.
Yeah.
We got through it once. Be fine.
So what's really interesting though, I don't know if either of you have read the book version.
Not yet.
They give this very different like spin on why the mayor is so gung-ho with going through the 4th of July events. And it's more than just greed, which worked great for the first movie.
The first one.
But when you get into the second movie, it seems to kind of like lose its believability. Is that he's like, he owes money to the mob or something.
Oh.
Like that. And he's just like trying to recoup that.
That makes sense. Sort of also makes sense that Amity is supposed to be proxy Long Island. So
yeah,
which I think in the book, right? I think I was looking because I was like very like, I know they filmed in Martha's Vineyard in Mass, but I think in the book, Amity is supposed to be sort of like a fictional island off of Long Island.
Yeah,
and is that true? Do you remember that?
Because he was a sheriff in I can't remember exactly where it was supposed to be, but he was from New York. They were from New York.
Yeah.
So it just proximity wise makes sense.
Yeah.
It's sort of like how Fire Island is to Long Island. It's just sort of supposed to be like one of those like, you know, parallel little strips of land.
Yeah. It's not silly.
Oh, you know, Orca. Okay.
The loss of a mate, as orcas are monogamous. Okay.
Wait, the orca is dealing with the loss of a mate?
Yeah, that's what I got. It's serious film. Yeah, he said it was a revenge film. So I'm guessing someone kills the other partner, and then that orca goes ham on the people who killed him. Who killed it?
I love that. It's like John Wick, but for orcas. That's wild. I love that. Now I'm gonna have to
Well,
watch
orcas
it.
are what's attacking boats and stuff right now, right? So that's even funnier to think about. Is they're like smarter than the average bear.
I'm into that. That sounds wild.
Yeah, I really thought maybe there's a different one about orca. I swear somebody told me that orcas was like a silly. Maybe there's like one called like Killer Orca or something, but I thought there was one that was supposed to be so bad it was funny.
Some direct-to-video rip-off.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, one of those kind of things. Yeah, so I have like I definitely think I watched Jaws too young, but like Jaws impacted my comfort level in all types of bodies of water. So like lakes, the ocean, pools at nighttime. Like I genuinely, like one of my biggest real life fears, second to being afraid of the dark, which is my number one fear, is sharks. Like I am irrationally afraid of sharks. Like I used to have when I was younger, I used to constantly have nightmares about sharks. But I love them. I love them as an animal. I love, like watching shark movies. Like I was super into Shark Week for the longest. I never make time for it and I always forget about it. But like I was super into that for like the longest time. But I am like so scared of the concept of sharks. Like when I go to the beach, I don't go any further than my knee. Like I'm not playing. Like I'm not, there can be no chance of me. I went to Hilton Head one year for a summer vacation and there were like fins in the water, like far enough out. When I tell you I walked on water, I was out. They were dolphins, but I couldn't fucking tell the difference. I was like, nope, too risky. I was like, I've got to be out of the water. So sharks absolutely terrify me. And it's probably because I saw this when I was really, really, really young. But I carried that tradition on and I showed my toddler. Well, he's not a toddler anymore, but when he was a toddler, I showed my son Jaws when he was like 2, not remembering how bad it actually is. Like there's a lot of screaming and a lot of blood. Yeah. And I remembered that it should have not been PG, but I just didn't remember how bad it was. It'd been a while since I'd seen it. And I was like, oh no, like my kid's going to need therapy, but he ended up, and I tell this story every time Jaws comes up, but if you're new here, I'm going to retell it anyway. But like when we got to the boat scene, when he eats Quint, like I was like, okay, like how we feeling? Like trying to feel out the situation. And he said, Mommy, that was a big baby shark. It's just like, okay, I think we're coping well. I think this is probably fine. And now he's all about shark movies. He just watched Under Paris with me, not the whole thing. He gets bored with the people parts. He just wants sharks eating people. And so, but he's seen both of the 47 meters movies. He loves the second one is his favorite. And so anyway, so super into the sharks already. But yeah, I watched it way too young. But the first one's iconic. It's so unsettling and the stuff they had to go through to make that shark work, to make this film, even what it became, is like insane. Like if you read about all the troubles they had, all the hardships with the actual shark and all of that, like they went through a lot to make this movie and to get it out to people.
I didn't get to see the show. There's an off-Broadway show. It might be over now.
Oh, I thought you meant like a TV show. I was like, stop. Are you serious?
No. There's a stage show called The Shark is Broken. And it's about the making of Jaws.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And so it's like 3 actors play them, the 3 of them, and there's like scenes on the boat, but it's them like in between takes, and it's about like the Bruce, and it's like a whole thing. And I don't know if it's still playing, but I didn't get a chance to go out and see it.
Sounds like so much fun. I know they had a time with that damn shark. They had a time with it. Worth it. It's aged phenomenally well. Every time somebody shares that GIF where it's like, where Bruce is like chomping on the boat, but it's like, it's really close and you can see like the black eye as he turns. Oh, freaks me out every time I see it.
It looks incredible.
Well, I think a lot of the reason that they had problems with the shark is why it didn't show up until much later in the movie. So it's kind of like serendipitous that it's as amazing as it is for a film because of how rough that animatronic shark was. Like they inadvertently created this whole thing about don't show the monster too soon.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
spawned a whole thing just because it didn't work properly.
Yeah. You're right, because it could very well have been it would have been a completely different movie, because I do think that's one of the reasons that the first one works as well as it does, is because the shark, like, you get the fin, you get pieces here and there, but those big moments when they're out in the middle of the water and it's the three guys, and it's like, that's like, it was like the perfect buildup. Spielberg said if he had shown the shark more, if he had worked more, it would have ruined the movie. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Because we talk all the time in horror about how sometimes less is more. Like, the more you see it, the more desensitized you become, and then it's just not as effective anymore.
I mean, and I would say like they use atmosphere really well in that original movie, and I think because of, obviously the less is more, but then they had to rely on the atmosphere, like the water scenes at night, like the beach scenes at night, and they capture, like, I mean, granted, this was filmed in the Northeast, so but like growing up on Long Island, like like just summers right on the shore, like they just sort of capture the vibe so perfect. I think
that's good to hear. I have no point of reference
as like watching this movie as a Long Islander. I'm like, okay, I don't know if we're going to the beach this summer. But I was a messed up kid. I had this green boat that I would play in the bathtub, and I would play one of two things. It would be the boat would be a proxy for the Titanic, or it would be the boat, the Orca.
Boat's going down no matter what.
The boat is going down.
Everything about you makes so much more sense now.
I'm sorry. My mom's like, Steven, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. Just playing Jaws or Titanic or a crossover between the two, because
I would watch that if that were a movie. Thinking of the Titanic from the shark's perspective.
Well, now that I said it, Sci-Fi Channel's going to do it now.
Do you guys have,
Titana Jaws.
Titana
Jaws. There you go. You could coin that. That'd be good. Do you guys have a favorite scene from the first one before we jump into 2?
I think, well, now as a parent, it's the scene between Michael and Brody. They're like mocking.
Oh my God!
That's
something when we get to 4. I'm gonna bring that up. Bring that up because they do a scene like that in 4, and it's just. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but it's the drunk song. It's just sort of that lead up there. I just sort of love it. Feels like, I mean, it's creepy, right? They're out in the boat at night. Like, it's just sort of like that whole sequence. You know, the quieter moments leading into sort of the heightened,
the big stuff,
the big kaboom. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. What about you, Kat?
I have several, but really, I think a couple of my favorite moments are there's a whole thing between Quint and Hooper that I love. Their whole just like going back and forth at one another on the boat. And there's a scene where Hooper just like starts making faces at Quint, and I lose it at that every time. I just love that scene. Same. And then my other favorite is in the pond, the scene where the shark attacks the boat in the pond, and that guy falls out of the rowboat, and you see the shark coming at him. That is one of the scariest scenes in that movie, and I just like that gets me every time. They did that. They did such a great job with that.
Yeah, that is a great shot. You're right. That's a great shot.
I forgot 2 quotes though that I do say a lot, so I can't say they're my favorite scenes.
Probably can guess what one of them is, but go ahead.
No. What do you think it is?
No, you say it first, and then I'll change it.
All right, these are real camp lines. These are not our main characters.
Okay, then probably not.
One of them is the kids are karateing the picket fences. That one. And then they're in the scene where they're all like, before Quint sort of like introduces himself, someone like makes like an off-color joke or something, and the really Italian wife goes, and me and Dan will just go to each other and they go, I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's funny at all.
Yes. I don't think that's funny at all.
I don't think it's funny at all. And me and Dan, my husband, we'll just say it to each other all the time.
I don't think that's funny at all. That's hilarious.
I think it's funny at all. I think this movie also just has really great like one-liners, little things that they put in that kind of really fill out the cast and like make a lot of these characters believable, you know?
Yeah.
There's one in the chat right now that's also one of my favorites. Like absolutely one of my favorites.
Oh. A what?
A what?
That's a good one. That's a great one.
They did such a good job of encompassing all the different types of people it makes to make a town, right? Or it takes to make a town. Like it's really well rounded because you get all these like side moments like that aren't really like major plot points, but they do add to the overall feel of the experience of living in a small town, right?
Yeah. Oh, and then got to miss
hey all, sorry I couldn't be there. Don't forget your rubbish.
Yeah, miss you, bud.
Yeah.
Hey Rick, we hope you feel better. Sorry you're feeling bad.
Feel well.
Yeah. My favorite is I really just like so many moments in this film, but I think my favorite is a pretty cliche answer. I really like the barrel scene, and then I really like the chomping of the boat. I mean, that's when you get so much shark, and if you've been on the channel before, if you've watched it, you know that like I want more of those kind of things in stuff. So like that scene is always, because I will tell you, no matter how many times I watch this movie, that scene always fills me with dread because it's you as a viewer, the camera shots on this are so good. You are so close to the shark and it just gives you this sense of like, oh shit, like I don't know, like that scene every time I watch it gives me anxiety. So it's definitely probably my favorite in the whole film. And then the only, and honestly, like, and this is such a weird thing, it's not even really a complaint, but the only thing I thought was odd is the age of that little boy's mom. Like, do y'all ever think about that? When she comes up and she slaps Brody, she's like 70. And she had like a 7-8-year-old, maybe 10-year-old. I don't know. Like, I guess everybody's body's different and stages of life. But I just thought it was such a strange casting choice because she walks up and you get that like really up close shot of her, and you're just like, oh.
And not just the mom, but also the dad.
Yeah, like I don't. It's such a weird.
Like, hella old.
They are
hella old.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. Like men work forever, right? Like they can just have kids until they die. But like women typically can't do that. Like eventually gets to a point where it's hard. So I was like, maybe there's like, I'm like making up backstories. I'm like, maybe it's really like adopted family or like, but it just like whenever she comes up and she's got, she's dressed in black and obviously like, it's very sad that a kid dies. Very sad. You see the float shredded, the blood, it's very sad. But then like when she comes up, I'm just like, that's his mom. It just throws me every time.
Always look like that though, because all the townies show up again in 4, and she's one of the people consoling.
Is she? I don't remember her in 4.
And I'm like, she looks the same. So I think that's just how people looked sometimes in the 70s. Plus, also, all that time you spend in the sun ain't going to be good for you. So really, all they do.
And maybe her son might have been a little shit, and it could have aged her horribly.
When did Jaws 4 come out? Like, how long after the first one?
87, I think. I was like,
Yeah.
trying to remember the
It's
number.
only been, if you think about this, it's only been like 16 years since they filmed
87.
the first one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And all of it, it's supposed to have been more time
Yes.
in the universe.
Yes.
So it does not make sense.
Because we don't get, because in 1 and 2, we get the same. Is it the same actors as the kids? If not, it's believable that they are.
Yeah.
And then
It's the same.
I don't
and
think
then- okay, because then in 3, it's like But then 4, when they kind of refocus back on the family, it's been like a lot. Yeah, it's been like a lot of time. But they're like, yeah, because that came out in 87. You were right, Steve, 87.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jaws came out in what, 75?
75. Yeah, so really only like just a little over 10 years, right? Yeah, and then because I don't think any of the actors are the same for the kids in any of the movies.
I don't think so either.
Because you get like lesser known, and you get like Dennis Quaid in 3,
which was not, I don't think. And then but then like, okay, Dennis Quaid, I realized was very specific age when they did 3D. But then like when they go to 4, they like de-aged him again. He was younger, and I was like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. I don't know. It was weird. That part was weird, casting wise.
I mean, I prefer Michael in 4 than Dennis Quaid, but just on vain reasons.
Yeah. So 2, I guess, general thoughts on 2. I really liked 2. A little bit more actiony. It felt like, obviously, with like the blowing up of stuff, but I liked it kind of went more into like the kids are getting out, and they're a little bit older, obviously, so they're like I felt like a little bit more of a focal point in 2 than they were in the original, because they get stranded, and that's all that that leads to all of our big moments, is like when they go out and they get stuck. I really liked 2, though. I thought 2 was a good continuation. The one thing about 2 that did drive me nuts was, after everything they went through, the mayor was still just like, but like you said, Kat, I mean, with it just being the motivation of greed, it doesn't make sense in the sequel. It's like after everything they'd already seen and gone through, it should have been enough of a motivator to be like they treat him like he's like a social pariah. Like he didn't just save the town. Like it's such a weird shift. Like from what happened in the first one.
Well, it's also, it doesn't make sense too, because like, isn't the mayor's son out on the boat too? Like he's out there.
Yeah. Because they introduced him at the party at the event,
and like,
right? And then
he's out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like I need another motivator for this guy to just be
that careless.
Totally willing to let his kid.
Yeah,
he should have resigned after the.
No one else wanted the shark problem, so he won again.
I mean, if that happened in the real world, they would have had the mayor resign.
Yeah, with an apology tweet. The anchor jacket.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that was the biggest problem I had with 2, but otherwise I really liked it. I like Brody, the way his story kind of, he always feels like odd man out anyway, obviously, because like they're starting over, and they're starting over with this new thing, and he's kind of, when he starts taking the shark thing seriously, and he's like wanting to do the signs, nobody takes him seriously. Yeah. But then like in 2, it's kind of like, I think what JR was saying earlier in the comments, is very like dealing with all of that, and then still being in the town, still letting your kids in the water, still being a part of that kind of culture, I guess, I don't know what you call it, environment or whatever. It was an interesting, and again, still hitting psychological notes just like the first one did, which I really liked about 2.
Kat, what about you?
It's been a long time since I've watched 2. So I'm like trying to remember exactly the sequence of events. Mm-hmm. I do think that there was, like, going back to what we were saying before, that pressure of like trying to do something different for the sequel. Yeah. And having it be, a little younger, a little like more like a slasher film. So having all of your people in peril be teenagers, kind of like a Friday the 13th kind of thing. And I
had not thought about that. That's a really good point. Yeah.
I mean, also having a legitimate boating accident, which is hilarious. Just having like the boat blow up as a callback to the first one.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's just a boating accident.
Yeah.
Like, no shark involved.
Yeah.
And then also there's the craziness of like what this thing goes through. and doesn't die. Like, it's burned. Half the thing's face is burned off, and it's just like going after these people.
Machine.
It was the right amount of just like crazy and scary, and the right amount of character development, and it is a really good film, and I think I would have rated it higher on my list had I not had the nostalgia for number 3, because story-wise and just content-wise, acting-wise, it is better than 3 and 4.
Yeah. I like when I rewatched 2 to get ready for this conversation, and I've seen 2 a lot of times. I've seen it a lot, and I did not realize until literally this last watch through that the boat that they find at the beginning, the scuba guys, was the orca. Like, even though it very plainly says it, I have missed that every single time I've watched it. And I was like, that's an interesting thing to like start with. Like, because, it felt weird to hit a nostalgia in a sequel like this. Cause that's kind of what it felt like. It kind of felt like a nostalgia pool of like, oh yeah, remember the major boat in, the first one. And I think that I was laughing because I think I messaged Steve and I was like, how have I never noticed that that's the boat? I just didn't think about it. I just thought, oh, well, they're diving and this is just, the start of the movie. It's random. I never realized it was the same boat that went down in the first one. So I thought that was funny when I went back and revisited it this last time, because I just had never noticed that.
Yeah. Now this one is fun. I love the concept of the final act, right? With the kids getting stranded. Yeah. It's sort of just, it's a different kind of dynamic. And it sort of adds this like isolation horror to it. Or I guess we have a little bit of that in the first one as well, but it's just a different, like that little sort of Friday the 13th ism of it. Really funny thing I caught, I think it's in the second one. One of the new kids, maybe she's in the third one, I can't remember, is either in 2 or 3. One of the new cast is played by the mom from Back to the Future 2.
That's 3.
3. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, all right. But I'll mention it now anyway, which I love because in Back to the Future 2, we get the joke of Jaws 20 or whatever, the 3D. Oh, wait. 3D Jaws. That's even funnier. Did they do it on purpose? I don't know.
I don't know what the timeline was, but I did I recognized her on this rewatch, and I was like, oh, hey, I know who that is.
But anyway, so I did notice so it did feel a little off pacing wise on my rewatch this time with Jaws 2. I love sort of the deep, like the trauma exploration with Brody, but then they also, by the time we get to the sort of the final set pieces, it almost just feels like it's a lot of like, is it a shark? Is it not a shark? Is it a shark? Is it not a shark? And then it's just like sort of like the constant trying to like convince people there's a new piece of evidence, try to convince people, new piece of evidence. And they kind of like repeated it, I think, like one too many times.
It's kind of like they like pulled a Michael Myers. Is it supernatural? Is it not supernatural? Is it normally like, is it just because like what Kat was saying earlier, like this shark in this movie goes through a lot, and he is very determined to continue to try to kill everybody. Like when he takes down the helicopter, I was like, okay, like you're not even safe in a helicopter. Like that's scary. Like it was a lot.
that was fun. The sort of the whole and so I also didn't realize how much the Jaws ride was based on 2, not 1.
Yep.
I wasn't even like, which R.I.P. that I can't believe they got rid of that. But anyway.
Did y'all ever get to do the Jaws ride before it was taken out? No, Kat?
No, I skipped going to Universal when we went to Florida because I was so like out of it from the previous day. We went to Epcot the previous day and I was just so tired. So I did not go to Universal, which is super dumb. It's so dumb. Like, I kick myself for not going.
Well, if you ever go to Japan, they still have one. But we just don't have one in the States anymore.
Likely
theirs is probably scarier.
Probably. I mean, you can always watch like ride-alongs. People always, record.
Oh, I watch those all the time.
Yeah.
Well, so I went to Universal when I was 8. And we did the same thing like what you were saying. We did everything. Like one day we did this, the next day we did that, and it was like a whole week, but every day we went somewhere different. And I bugged the absolute shit out of my parents because the only thing I cared about at Universal was the Jaws ride.
Right.
And then I got on it and was too scared to look at anything. And my mom was just like,
it was scary, especially for a kid.
But it was so fun though, because they had the shark strung up like they do in the movie. You're walking up and there's these fake news reports playing on the TVs, like, oh, there's a shark in Amityville, and like all these things. And it's like, it was just this like, oh my God, this is real. You know what I mean? Like you're getting into this. So you're like almost getting into character before you get on the boat. And again, I was 8 years old. So the first thing is, the first major thing that happens where you actually see like the shark, right? He comes up to the side of the boat on the left side. So if you're on the right side, but if you're on the left side, he's like right there. And it scared me so bad I didn't look up the rest of the It was too real. I was like thinking if I fall in the water, I'm going to get eaten up. Like I can't. It was so stressful.
I can't handle this right now.
But the explosions, the part where you go into like the boathouse and the stuff falls over and they have like the fake explosions, you can feel like the heat from it. And it's such a brilliant. I cannot believe that they just gave up on it. I know it's old, but dang.
You can
it was just so good.
They're like, these kids, they don't appreciate Jaws, so we're just going to get rid of it.
Yeah, they don't. They haven't had it in years. I think it's been gone for a long time, but it was a really cool ride. Really, really cool ride. But yeah, it is. I think it is mostly based off of 2 because there's
like electrical stuff. I remember it. You know, and
that's how you get to safety. Yeah.
Because then they have like the little power island that they have in the movie is there. Little like with all the electric. Yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't have the ride prior to, I think, the success of 1 and 2.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was really like the 80s where they were like pumping out these like IP rides,
Yeah. No, it was cool, though. It was very, very cool. Yeah, I really liked 2. I think that, like I said earlier, when you think about franchise sequels, particularly horror, but even more so when you're talking about sharks, like you generally aren't just like, this is going to be super good. You usually go, it's probably going to disappoint me, but it doesn't. It was such a wild ride, and it was a lot more stuff, more shark, more action, more kills. Like it was, like we talked about earlier, very amped up, which made it really, really good. I liked it a lot, and I liked the characters were still, I like that the teenagers for the most part were not like asshole teenagers. I'm not saying asshole teenagers don't exist, but I do hate when films harp on how awful teenagers are, because they're not all like that. But like you had one of the friends in the teen group that was like super worried about the younger brother, always keeping him with her, very friendly, very kind. Like they wanted to protect him. Like, and I thought I liked all of that kind of that sort of dynamic and stuff, and how that worked really well too.
They were slightly edgier Brady Bunch kids. Like, I mean, like, that episode where Greg smoked a cigarette. That's where we were playing with these kids.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite part in this one before we jump to 3? I know it's been a while since you've seen it, Kat, but is there a scene that just jumps out at you?
Oh God. I mean, probably from what I can remember, I will say probably the final confrontation between Brody and the shark.
Yeah. It's very well, for lack of a better word, choreographed, which is pretty much how I felt about the big final scenes in 1. They're very, like, the way that they are set up is just like, there's a lot of details in it that just make it work really well. So yeah, that's it. It's longer. Like that part of the sequel is longer than our final showdown in 1. Because in 1, we get interactions that are broken up with nothing, right? But then in this one, it's like, and then it's longer. It just takes longer to get through it. Yeah. What about you, Steve?
Couple of things. So like character moment wise, I love that the younger son had a moment similar to Michael. Like Sean had the moment where he was helping Brody pick up the gun shells.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like this low moment, right? Where like this was like the ultimate, like, all right, he made a fool of himself or whatever. And like this is kind of like the end, the beginning of like his trajectory, right? The end here, where he's getting booted. So there's like low moment. If I remember correctly, it was definitely a low moment too in the first one when he was doing like the face thing with Michael. So I love that Sean had that here.
Oh yeah.
And then I think maybe it was the first teen that got killed in the group. It was when she sort of like she's trying to help save Sean, and then she falls off. I really like that was tense. Like when that death.
Yeah.
There's so many teens I don't remember their names. But yeah. And then just like, and then the other friend just lets out a visceral scream. I'm like, ooh, okay, this is a horror movie.
Yeah.
And then of course just the electrocution stuff. I mean, it was just they definitely amped it up a lot. But I don't think we get. It's not. Oh, it doesn't feel like we've jumped the shark at this point. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. I think one thing we haven't talked about that I did want to bring up before we go to 3 is I really love their relationship, like the Brodies, like the mom and the dad specifically. Yeah. Like I think that they are very like they feel so healthy that it almost doesn't feel realistic, especially for the time frame that this came out. Like the way that she is, like when he loses his job. And the way she is, when he's like just really just going through it. And she is like consistently supportive, but also kind of his like tether of like, stop it. Like she has these moments where she's very real with him, but their relationship dynamic, I just really, really like because it felt very healthy. And I don't know that I always feel that way about mom and dad in movies. Typically, they're very specific stereotypes assigned to them, but this just felt like they really loved each other and they really cared about each other in a way that was like genuinely positive. And also not for nothing, but the boss, when he's like, he gets a little handsy with the wife and like Brody's looking at him like, and he says something about her being, I forget exactly what the boss says, something about her being like very special or a hell of a woman or something like that. And he's like, yeah, I know. He's just like, I'm like, yeah, that's a mood.
At the party scene at the beginning, right?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, she's my wife. I know. Like, can it? I just really appreciated that because that's like something I would probably do in real life. I'd be like, yeah, no kidding. Like,
I love when he really sort of gives it to her boss. Like, when everyone's still sort of like BSing around the situation.
Yeah.
And no, she's like, my husband, my kid are out there. And she was like, because she was so quick to sort of jump out. And so again, speaking to that relationship, I love like, she was like, okay, well, what do I do here? And he was like, no, keep your job. We're going to need the income or something. And then, and then at the end, she was just like, no, and it was sort of like, no, you all are messed up.
Yeah. But yeah, I think my favorite part is probably the helicopter part. I just thought that was so crazy. Like watching it now that I've seen a lot of other shark movies, like if I had just watched this for the first time now, I would have predicted that. But I remember watching it for the first time thinking the guy was going to like fall off into the water to get eaten, or it was going to be something a little more typical. But when the shark comes up and like bites the whatever those things are called on the bottom, I was like, what the hell? Like it just talk about feeling helpless. Like that was supposed to be the answer, mm-hmm. and the shark was like, no. And so the helicopter part is always just like, oh, like it's just so well done. And that, and kind of, yeah, like I agree with Kat, just that whole like end like battle or fight scene or whatever you want to call it between them was just really, really well done. The helicopter moment though is just always the one that sticks out because you're given this like this hope, right? Of like, this is going to be it. But maybe, you know, Brody comes after the fact and he fights the shark after the kids are pulled to safety. But then like their safety gets knocked out of the equation. And you're just right back into the rut with them of like, well, what the fuck are we going to do now? Like that's it. You're stranded in the ocean. You're probably going to get eaten by a shark.
And the way like the propeller flies at the kids, like as it's hitting that was
scary.
Wild. I have like an irrational fear of like my fan breaking apart. I wonder if this is where that came from.
And it's gonna just like
I just get like an intrusive thought of like my fan going nuts. And like the blade.
Like your ceiling fan or
fan, yeah. I'm like, I wonder if like that imagery from this movie
it's just permanently scarred you.
It's just the birth of that intrusive thought of like, yeah. I just get a moment where I just stare at the fan like, oh man, what if it just went flying?
It might be because of Jaws too.
Maybe. You know, I was that's the therapy in me. I'm like the therapist in me. I'm like, where did the thought come from?
Yeah.
Maybe it might have been this.
Yeah. Well, Kat, I'm gonna let you start us off with your love for 3. We'll jump into Jaws 3D.
Oh God. Yeah.
You're like adjusting.
Defend the movie.
So I think what I love about this movie, first off, is it's absolutely ludicrous. And the characters are so goofy and stupid, but I love them all. Like, and there's just no rhyme or reason to them. But they're all believable because it's Florida, right? And even Dennis Quaid just being Dennis Quaid, because that's why they got him.
Dennis Quaid was hopped up on coke for the whole movie. Hey, it played into it very well.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's believable. It's believable that everyone except for maybe the dolphin chick is hopped up on coke for the whole movie.
The 80s, man.
The whole dolphin thing, the whole dolphin subplot. It's Cindy and Sandy. It just, God, it was so dumb. But at the same time, it's one of those fun shark movies where it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna watch this whole thing. They're gonna follow the dolphins down to the shipwreck, and I'm just gonna eat my popcorn and enjoy it.
Yeah,
even the bad graphics of it all.
Oh, the graphics.
And Louis Gossett Jr. also just in such a, I don't know, like a role that you felt like they wanted to do something with, but then they kind of like took his power away a little bit.
Yeah.
Who was that? What character was that? Or who was that?
So he was the Calvin Bouchard. He was in charge of the.
I thought so, but I didn't remember the name. Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
And then the guy in the red suit, like who comes in to like kill the shark, the British guy. Like
he was the worst.
He was just so dumb.
What a character that I love that. Yes, but I love him.
So good though. Like just that through the whole movie. It's wonderful.
Kill it. It'll make good documentary.
It's crazy. The first Jaws kind of like didn't really do a lot of really good things for the shark community. But I really liked because that's true about the great whites in captivity. I don't know about now, like I don't know about 2024, but they genuinely, they don't survive in captivity. Yeah. Great whites die. They can't keep them alive. They've tried and they always die. So I actually really got invested in that story because I knew when they got that shark, that wasn't our shark. I knew that because it's too small, right? It wasn't going to be our shark for the whole movie. And so, but when she's talking about that, she's like, no, but no one's ever kept a great white alive in captivity. They don't survive, they die. And so like that scene, like it's so silly to even be this emotionally invested. But the scene when that great white, they move it. She tells them not to move it and they move it anyway. And then it just like, they're just like,
that did
that
get me
poor
to
shark. Like it was really sad for me, but I bought into all of that because I knew that was a true thing, that they haven't been able, like literally, like ironically, just this week, I took my son to the aquarium and to the Georgia Aquarium, and we got to see, there was a tiger shark, like 4 hammerheads. I've never seen that many. Oh, so cool. And I don't know what the official name is, but the sharks that have the white tips, I think they're nicknamed like the white tip sharks or something, but I think they have like a different name. But like those sharks, they can keep alive, and there's like but for some reason, great whites cannot be held in captivity. And I think that's super crazy. So I was like super into that from like a shark lover side of things. I was like, oh, she knows what the hell she's talking about. Like I was super invested in that part. But yeah, I liked the 3D one. I liked it more on this watch than I remembered liking it, though, because I remembered it like not really being a big fan of it, but I really liked it this time around. I think that I think it's a very fun addition to the franchise. I liked the characters were a little silly, but other than that, I really liked it. And I just, and again, we talked about this earlier, but like the whole SeaWorld thing, I was like, wait, I didn't remember that it was like legit SeaWorld. Like I was thinking it was just supposed to be that, but like,
SeaWorld, yeah.
I was just like, holy cow, that's kind of crazy. But but yeah, I really liked it. Some of the like, those things of like when they get trapped, the people who are going through like the tunnel. So there's like a tunnel in the Georgia Aquarium where you go under it and there's sharks swimming around you and there's other fish, but they have like a whale shark, they have manta rays, like a lot of stuff. And every single time I've ever gone to the aquarium and walked through that thing, I have had a terrible fear that some shit like that was going to happen and the glass was going to break and the water was going to come rushing in. So anyway, it checked a lot of my fear boxes for me with that part where the water's coming up and you're just like, oh no. It also had like that claustrophobia feel and like, it had a lot going on in that regard too, which I really liked.
It had kind of like almost like a Jurassic Park feel or Jurassic World vibe.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
It's just like, I'm a sucker for like big like theme parks or things where things just go awry and it's just utter chaos.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm actually listening to an audiobook trilogy called Ghostland, and the first one is kind of like, it's like Jurassic Park meets Ghosts, and it's like that where things just go nuts. And I'm a sucker for that trope. But yeah, I think that's just it is just really exciting, as campy as it can be. I love that.
Yeah, I thought it was a really fun. And then like I was surprised, given that this is the 3rd installment, that I was still able to kind of feel that like tension. Like, the scene with the skiers, and they're like all stacked. You're like, if he just like jumps up and eats like 4 of them at one time, this will be like the best movie I've ever seen. I just kept waiting on that moment for him to just be like, almost like a human shish kebab. You know what I'm talking about? Things on the sticks, a kebab, and then it just goes whoosh. Like that would have been so funny. I would have absolutely loved it.
What's hard, like on the cover art for Jaws 3, it shows that, but it never happens in the film.
No.
And so you're waiting for that to be a thing. Sorry, I just got distracted by the
You're fine. This was
supposed to be a Lampoon movie. That's interesting. It was going to be like a parody.
I mean, it doesn't know when to take itself seriously, which is very true. Like there are scenes where they get very invested in like the brothers' relationship and then like, Leah Thompson and the younger brother, like flirting and hiding around the boats and shit. And they get really into that. And you're like, okay, can we redirect to the actual plot.
Yeah, there's like the trauma subplot there. It's like, oh, he's so traumatized by what happened when we were kids, he won't go back in the water. And then they're like, and then this cute girl comes along, and he just like, and he's like, she got him in the water, and it's
yeah, it's
all that trauma went out the window for the possibility of sex.
It just, and that's funny too, but it's also like it does derail the plot. And
real bumper boat situation.
The bumper boats were funny. Yeah.
Oh yes.
God. But no, the whole water skier part of the movie was pretty harrowing. There's a whole scene where they all go down and you see it from the bottom of the lagoon or whatever, and that was probably one of the better shots of the film, and that's where you do expect everybody to be eaten,
right?
Yeah, because the first time you see them is before we meet the shark, so you don't really but then there's the scene later where the shark is absolutely behind them in the water, and you're like, any moment now, this is going to get batshit crazy, and he's going to come up and eat everybody in just like a row. Like, I was
the one dumb water skier who looks back and makes them all crash.
Yes,
you're just like you
topple. Come on,
it's true. It's true.
Coming through with the facts here.
Oh, National Lampoon's Jaws 3 People Zero is about a movie studio trying to make a second sequel to Jaws. It opened with author Peter Benchley, who wrote the original, being eaten in his pool by a shark. See? And included a naked Bo Derek and shark costumed aliens. Joe Dante was attached as director. What?
I would have liked to see that.
See, that's why when I was swimming in my pool, I'm telling you, I was terrified to swim in pools at nighttime because I was like, they can be there. You don't know. Can't breathe like chlorine water or whatever. And
my absolute favorite part of this movie, though, I think Kat mentioned it, is like with the dolphins. I just love how they mounted the dolphins like Aquaman and Queen Mira, and they're like, go
save us, Cindy and Sandy.
They were is Jelly trying to come up?
He is. He's got one claw in the chair. And he's not
contemplating. Cats do things on their own terms. They're just like, I'll do whenever I want to.
And you're stuck. Yeah, you're stuck.
Oh,
well, I can't do this with your angle. There we go.
Oh no! It's like I would like to say hello, and now I'm stuck.
Yeah. No, he's terrified, so it's not going to happen.
Oh. Yeah, I thought. I thought this one was fun. I just like the scenes when they and I love that random I don't remember the character's name, but she's like the girlfriend or wife of one of the guys that works for Dennis Quaid.
Yes.
You tell him if he blah blah blah. I was like, damn.
Talk about
like Rose's shit.
Ass characters.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, we're gonna have this chick in her like cheetah print pants and
she was
like itty bitty waist come like sauntering in with her 3-inch high heels and yell at him, and then she's never going to be seen again for the rest of the film.
They all just were like fine with it. Like she came up when they were at the bar or the cat, wherever they were. And like, she comes up and says all this stuff. And he's like, well, he's not supposed to have overtime. So he's probably just passed out somewhere. And then like, so we see her then and everyone's just like, oh, that's just so-and-so. And they just like move on with their night. And then she shows up the next morning or the next day or whatever. And she's like, saying all the same stuff. And they're like, and then like the SeaWorld girl, whatever her name is, she like comes up and she's like, I'm sure he's okay. And she's like thinking, well, and then she makes the comment. She's like, I'd never hurt him, right? Like, just murdered. She was epic. I loved her character so much. She was funny, super funny.
Wild.
So there is a really good. It's not a version of this movie, but it is a commentary on this movie. And the Riff Tracks people do a downloadable commentary that you can like play along with Jaws 3.
Oh, that's fun.
Okay.
And it's hilarious. And they also do one for the first movie. And that is probably one one of the funniest things that I have ever seen.
I can only imagine.
And I recommend it to everybody.
That sounds
it's great.
fun. Yeah.
No, we enjoy some Mystery Science Theater. I know that
Oh,
they do
for
the Rip
sure.
Tracks additionally
For
too.
sure.
You know. Yeah, we're yeah. Okay. I didn't know they did it for the Jaws movies.
I didn't know that either. That's awesome though. Yeah, because I can imagine. Yeah. I can imagine for 3D specifically, it would be hilarious, like super funny. Because yeah, there's a lot to poke at in this, I think. And it's like the pressures of you're right. I hadn't really, it's a very clear like thing you could line up with like Jurassic Park, but I never really thought about it like that. But you even have like the John Hammond, right? Because you have like the guy that you were just talking about earlier that he's like supposed to be kind of over the thing, and he reacts very like very John Hammondy in some of these circumstances, and he's just like, it'll be fine. Move the shark. I don't care what she says, the expert about marine biology, or I don't know if she's a marine biologist, but whatever she does, she knows about water animals of some kind, right? Because she's working with the dolphins. And anyway, yeah, it is very parallel, and I hadn't even really thought about it like that.
Which is hilarious that SeaWorld let this happen, because it does not paint them in a good
wonder.
So wild. Oh man.
Yeah. I had really not even like, the SeaWorld thing is crazy.
It is SeaWorld. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, they ain't great. So maybe they were just a little self-fulfilled prophecy.
Oh,
know.
That might be, yeah. Oh, hi guys. Thanks for stopping in. How are you? Yeah, I think that do you guys have a favorite part about 3 or a favorite scene in 3?
I mean, there's a lot of men in Speedos, so I'm gonna just go for that. They gave us eye candy with this one.
Steve is always honest about where he is with these things. He's like, doing all right, doing okay. Busy few weeks, but doing pretty good.
Getting a little loopy talking about Jaws and men in Speedos. Sorry. No, I would say, it's definitely like, I love just the dolphins. I gotta say, like, it's like just the silliness of that, the mounting of the dolphins. I love the skiers. I think it's sort of those really silly but also kind of quite fun moments. That is what this film does really well, I think.
Yeah. What about you, Kat? You got a favorite moment?
God, yes. So
she's like, I can't wait for this question.
I have a couple. So I think one of the first sequences that it's pretty like terrifying for a kid, because I was too young when I saw this one too. But it didn't didn't what's the word I'm looking for? It's gone. It is 10 o'clock at night, and this is when my brain shuts down.
It's okay. We'll get through it. Our brains, ours are like that no matter what time we record.
The backup generator is running on mine, so
when they find the guy's body finally, who was doing overtime maybe, and they show his body, and it's all very plasticky looking.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, oh, okay. And this is synonymous. This happens later in the movie than you feel like it should happen, because all of our characters are like in the restaurant having dinner, and they're out. The other two are out on the paddle boats, and all that stuff is going on. But it was a very like, oh, this is like my first gruesome body as a kid to see, and it's not very believable. And then the guy in the red scuba suit trying to
I cannot.
whatever he was doing with the shark, and then he just gets like sucked in pathetically. Is another favorite scene because it's just, oh god, it's so pathetic.
Yeah. I think that's one of my favorite scenes too. He's so pretentious from the very first moment. You're just like, oh, that's funny.
It's like, how are you supposed to take him seriously?
Oh, I don't think you are.
No, probably not.
And I feel like I had another one queued up, but now I'm struggling to even think. So, oh goodness.
I mean, the inside look of being eaten by a shark is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. No, that was it. It is related to this scene, and it's the fact that it eats everybody else, right? And this guy just kind of like stays in its mouth,
just hanging out with the bomb or whatever it is.
Yeah, with the little grenade. And you're just kind of like, oh, right. Why?
Sure. For effect.
I think those are some of my favorite moments too. The only other one I can think of that I really liked is kind of, and it's a silly one. It is when the dolphins are like their little saviors, like the whole sequence when they go under the water, when they're in the water and they're trying to like, and then he gets and then like that weird moment where he like grabs her because the grenade's about to go off, so he like grabs her and they go like, they're not far enough away, I feel like, to survive that. But maybe it's because it's underwater. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but it just felt like they were not far enough away to just come out of that more or less unscathed. But I like that whole setup with that, where he's just like in the side of the shark and he reaches in with the thing and grabs that was
no. Chew your food.
And then it was very fun. I like that whole sequence as well. I think that's probably my favorite too. What about you, Steve? Oh, did you say yours? Yours was the speed.
It was the mounting dolphins. I mean,
it's
wild.
I did think about one other thing just to complain about, because this is something that occurred to me. There's a whole like scene where Louis Gossett Jr. is like in the control room and he's talking to people in the control room, and one of them is his nephew, and he says it like you're supposed to take it seriously, and then the whole control room gets like crashed into by the toy shark, and he goes and he saves the knocked out woman and lets his nephew get
just,
and you're just like, really?
Wasn't his favorite nephew, you know?
No, apparently not.
Yeah, he only got him that job because he felt guilted into it by his sister or something.
This was like a slacker nephew.
Just
oh man, yeah.
3D was really a lot of fun. Even because I will say, like, some movies that are made for 3D, it's very different watching 3D movies now, obviously, than it was back then. But like, there are some films where they are so made for 3D that they are unwatchable if they're not in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at you, Silent Hill. Like, it was just one of those things where it's like, this was still was a good movie. Like, it was still entertaining. It was still super fun. It was still, there's some tense moments. And like, the things that were meant to be 3D were pretty obvious, but it wasn't like so bad that you were just miserable watching it. So it's interesting that it was as enjoyable as it was, given that I've never seen this in 3D.
Right. Shout out to the severed fish head floating to the camera.
Oh my God, the best. Yeah.
And then the jaw at the end. Which like comes out, and then it's like,
yes. Oh my God. We've come so far.
I think though, I don't have Jaws 3D in 3D. I think I have Friday the 13th 3D in 3D though.
Oh.
And it came with It was like the Blu-ray set, and it came with the 3D glasses.
The glasses.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. I never saw this in 3D. I only ever saw it in regular, but it was still a really fun movie. I mean, given that it was made for 3D. But yeah. Well, 4, Kat's favorite. This movie, I really did like 4. I really did. Like, Revenge was much more what I expect from shark movies, more on like present day. Like, I expect very like over the top, kind of silly, not making a lot of sense. And this kind of checked a lot of those boxes for me. Because we're kind of like back to super focused on the family. And now like the shark, like Brody died because of it. He basically died from the experience of the shark, right? And then the younger son gets eaten like in the very beginning. And then it's like after her grandkid and her other son and her, and it's like it's very silly. But I really liked this one. I really liked the family pieces in this, like the scene, like we were talking about this earlier in the first one, when they get the making the faces and the, you know, between the two, like they do that again with the daughter and the oldest son and the granddaughter and the oldest son in 4. And she's just like leaning, the mom's just like, or the Brody's wife, whatever her name is, Ellen.
Yeah. Ellen, yeah.
And she's like just leaning there, like watching them with this memory. And I was watching that part, and my heart, I was just like, watching Jaws Revenge. My heart, I'm just like, that's so sweet. Like it just, I thought it was so cute. And then, but yeah, like obviously, like this one is very different, I think, from 3. Like this one really didn't take itself too seriously.
Concept wise, it's really silly, the idea of the shark following them to the Bahamas.
Yes.
I guess it's sort of like Orca's Revenge, you know. But I think if they found a way to tell this story without kind of that structure, it would have been a better movie, right? Because I do love this idea of, you know, the family's trauma, her needing to move on, you know, the loss of the brother. And then, like, yeah, I know. I just sort of love the family dynamics, and her sort of needing to move on and not hold too tightly. You know, there's that sort of that moment where she's yelling at the granddaughter not to go into the water.
In the water, yeah.
You know, and it's like not letting that kind of control not letting your trauma define you. It's sort of the message that they're trying to tell with this movie.
Jaws Revenge. I just said this when I was watching it. I posted on Twitter and I was like, yeah, so anyways, Jaws Revenge is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
It takes place on Christmas. It's a Christmas movie. At least with this and Santa Jaws, we have 2 Christmas shark movies.
I know.
I mean, what more could you ask for? Yeah. I think the messaging in this is pretty clear, but it definitely like I know, like when this comes up with the guys over at Horror Fiend, like they always talk about the roar, that like suddenly the shark is like a dinosaur, and it like comes up out of the
launches. It launches.
I forgot about the roar.
How? How did you forget? It literally,
I know.
Right. It like launches. And it's like, and it's so, it's funny in context, but I'll tell you right now, you won't ever catch me in the middle of the ocean anyway. But if I ever heard a real shark do that, I would not think it was funny. I would absolutely be terrified. But this is so ridiculous when it happens, and it's never done it before. So like, where did that even come from? The roar.
Herman Monster, yeah.
Well, so at the end of the first film, after they blow up the shark, there is this like roar that happens in the background as it's like falling down through the water.
Yeah.
And they took that, I guess, from another Steven, wow,
Spielberg.
I lost his last name. Jesus. His last movie that he did, some other movie that he did where that noise was in it, and they like overplayed it as the shark is sinking.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I feel like somebody was rewatching that movie and they were like, "Oh yeah, the shark is roaring. I have to include that in Jaws 4." And
oh man,
that's like the only callback I can reason.
I didn't even remember that.
I'm trying.
Maybe I can include this. But it makes no sense. And it is a very like that whole sequence, which happens very quickly, is a very like Little Mermaid-esque thing going on with like, let's stab Ursula / the shark with the bow of the ship and take it down.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen. I've never paid that attention before.
I don't know if I ever
and as many times as I've seen it, that's wild. But and I think like the other thing that was so, and Steve, you touched on this earlier. I don't remember if it was when we started recording, maybe it was before, but you were talking about the mom like suddenly having like psychic powers. Like
she like sort of senses the shark attack. There's like a moment where she's like, "Shark," like there. Yeah, it just sort of feels like there's this like destiny. It almost
connection, like, right?
The shark is her Michael Myers, and it's like it's very. She's Laurie Strode now, and now she's got to get it,
that like because there's that scene where what's his name, Michael Caine, is that his real name? I always call him Alfred because he's Alfred in one of the newer Batmans. Ultimately, I think there it goes, is me. I really liked him in this, actually, at least in that situation.
He's just endearing no matter what he does.
There's that part where he takes her and she has that moment of like the shark, right? And he's like, "Are you all right?" And she's just like, and then she just starts pretending like she didn't just act like that. And she's like, "I'm fine. Everything's fine." And she starts like dancing and stuff.
She's like, "I'm okay.
I'm okay."
He's like, "You got to move on with your life."
I'm gonna start crying.
I can't. I'm like shaking my computer.
Oh my god. Oh, I'm definitely using that clip to promote this. Oh shit.
Oh no. Oh god. Oh jeez.
She almost had like a Kristen Wiig kind of thing going on. Like she was moving. I
need to watch this movie again.
The dosage.
It's just the greatest. I think it's the greatest way to get out of any uncomfortable conversation.
Oh my! And he's almost the most practical person because he's just like
he is, except for god, who are the guys on the ship? Like, is that like Mario Van Peebles?
Yeah,
that guy. Who I can't remember because it's been forever since I've seen the movie. Who was he? What was his deal? Was he like
were they marine biologists? I'm assuming.
I couldn't remember if he was like a member of the crew or what, but his death was pretty hilariously tragic. If I can put it like that, because it was in slow-mo.
It was.
And they just let it like go on for a little too long.
A little derpy. Yeah.
Yes. And it was like you were supposed to really care.
But then like it took me a minute to even remember what you were talking about. And I just watched this. That one did not stick with me. I had to think. I was like, wait, I remember now. Because
There's not much that sticks with me from this movie, but really the roar, and the
The
stabbing, and then his death, and then the plane are the big things.
Yeah, this movie is a perfect example of having story elements out of convenience. like he just like they just happen to have this guy connected with the airplane to come in at the end. Like it's just very it's like too perfect, like where it's just like you just randomly know these things, or like, and it happens a lot in horror where it's like too perfect of a setup. You're like, can you just not make it? But yeah, the other thing, like it's okay. So we in 3, right? We had the younger brother was like terrified of water, right? Yeah. But then in like 4, he was supposed to be like, what did he do?
He was a sheriff.
Was he?
Wasn't he
Why
like
was he in the water? Oh, he was in the water because something was stuck or trapped, or
he was fixing
something was messed up, and he had to be
something. So, he was checking that out.
So, but it just seemed like it's almost like they ignored 3 as like
retconned 3.
Yeah, it just like it just got ignored, and they just like moved on from it. Of course, again, we talked about this earlier, but like in 4, they're younger than they were in 3. In 3, they were older, or looked older anyway. I guess it was a casting choice. I don't know, but yeah, I really thought this one was so funny, and again, the family dynamic stuff, like when she like is trying to when Ellen goes into the kitchen, and her daughter-in-law standing there, and she just has this like meltdown about him quitting his job because he works in the ocean too. And so and she's just like, no, like you gotta like, you can't do your job anymore. And it was like that whole scene where she like breaks, and then she's like trying to decide what to do for dinner. She's so manic. She's like all over the place, but to Steve's dancing, she was kind of like that the whole time. Like she's very manic, like where you really do just want to be like, okay, mom, like just go take your pill and lay down. Like she just is so up and down, and the characters show it, because even the characters are like, what are we supposed to do with this? Like he's like, I'm not quitting my job. You're being ridiculous. And then she's like, I don't want you doing that job. And then she's like, do you want chicken for dinner, or whatever it is she says? And you're just whiplash from like the abrupt changes in the situation. But yeah, it's all of that stuff was like, I thought was really entertaining.
Yeah. Happy Saturday.
Hi. Happy Saturday.
Oh.
I hope you're having a good weekend. Are you ready for your vacation? Is that next week? I can't remember if it's next week or a week after, but yeah, I really like Finch. The Roar and all. Like it's such a silly movie, and it was like, and again, like to me, there are just some parts with the family though where I just like I was invested. I was into it. I was like, man, like this poor family. And then there's other parts where I'm like, this doesn't make any sense,
I
so ready. I bet. I don't know if you've packed yet. Packing is like my least favorite thing to do when I'm going to be gone for a while. You're going to have fun. I'm excited for you. That's Tara, Albert's partner. She's getting ready to go.
Hi.
Yeah, she's getting.
Well, we're going to move on through while Angel reboots. It's only happened. This is honestly pretty good if this only happened the second time.
I've had a bit of stuttering on my end, but it seems to come back pretty quick. So that's
you're good.
Good anyway.
I was having some internet issues before, so but like no, considering it's been good, and she's back.
Oh,
hi.
It's crazy. I can hear y'all the whole time.
It's so funny. That was like, oh, so you were like, yeah, because I'm just like, yeah, we're just gonna go, like she said. And I'm like,
no, for sure, do it that way. But yeah, so that's Tara, that's Albert's partner. She's getting ready to go to Disney World for a birthday thing. So that's why I was asking her if she's ready for her vacay.
Oh, fun.
Anyway, I'm surprised. Earlier it like cut out, and I was recording with Scott, and it was it took a little while to come back on.
Yeah, no, but for being worried, it only having 2 little moments
Yeah. Earlier it was problematic. I think mostly for Addie. I think was mostly like she was having a hard time getting her computer, and then we couldn't get the TV. It's been like, but y'all know how that shit goes with technology anyway. Doesn't matter what you do.
But I was gonna say, because I know you mentioned like it sort of feels like they retconned 3, and I think not just with Sean, but with Michael too. I think it almost like because of his experience working at SeaWorld, which is such a bananas statement to make about a movie, but given his experience at SeaWorld, it doesn't make sense that he would be hiding the fact that there's the shark, right? Like the whole like secret doesn't like. I feel like he would be more anxious about it, given that he's now survived 3 shark things.
and
only having the 2, maybe he's like, and now he's an adult and like, he's looking at it from a different angle. But no, you were also an adult when the last one happened.
But the other thing I thought was weird about the storyline with him was with the secret thing in particular is like it kind of added like an unnecessary complication, because it was like you knew about the shark and it's like, you could just remove that. Like it didn't really change anything for that to be revealed, because by that point the story had already gone like way off the rails. And so like
they were already heading into final
act. It was such a weird like thing to be all of a sudden be like, oh, like you like you knew the whole time. And it's like, yeah, but it's like that thing where like you watch other movies, like this is notorious in Disney movies, where they're like this one person just like doesn't tell the truth, and then they end up spending way too much time on the fact that they were dishonest, and you're like, I don't care, move on. Like
people lie, let's go.
Let's just do whatever we're gonna do. But like that part in particular, you're just kind of like, like it didn't really.
If they did a better job at explaining like his motivation, like he's like super into like figuring out shark shit, because and that's his way of dealing with his trauma, and this is mom's way of dealing with her trauma.
The mom's not dealing with it at all,
right? No. She's dancing away, so it's like I think there was just a better way to tell this, because I think the bones of something really good are here, but it just gets bogged down by just 80s horror kookiness.
It definitely does. And I think it's funny because like even still it's better than some shark sequels, like even given that it is so silly and so over the top and there's so many things wrong with it, right? There's like so much worse. Like, have y'all seen the Deep Blue Sea sequels?
No,
they're atrocious. They are almost unwatchable. They are awful. Like, and it's not even like bad fun, right? You're just like, why did they do so many of these damn movies? And whereas by the time you expect that when you get into this, like you're like the 4th Jaws movie, but like it was still funny. It was still entertaining. Like it was still a lot of things. And it's insane to me that they were able to even do that many that were still at least watchable given, the subject matter. And then to still be, around the same family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you watch if they gave Jaws the requel treatment?
Oh, like requel, no.
If they like skipped 2, 3, and 4, and if like we had like Michael now, would they? You don't think that? Well, that one would you watch it. 2, do you think they ever will do it? Because I have
interest me. Like I might would. I would probably watch it, but I probably wouldn't pay to watch it. You know what I mean? Just because there's so many things that could go wrong with it.
Yeah.
It depends. If it had a good director behind it and a good screenwriter behind it, I could get down.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised they have not touched it since 87.
This is one that I know nobody agrees with me on, but if they did an all ALL practical effects remake of this, I would watch it in a heartbeat. Like a heartbeat, I would watch it. But it can't be CGI. That would be my only bugaboo about it. Could not be CGI. It would have to be all practical and potentially bringing back at least somebody from the original team, not the actors, but like the
like Spielberg,
or
it would be interesting.
I would give it a chance though if it was all practical.
Yeah, I like when I think of well done shark movies that have utilized CGI, though, like The Shallows, if they could do a Jaws film that was as good as The Shallows with CGI and making it look like it was all very real, I would be into that.
Oh yeah. Ghost Shark. I don't know Ghost Shark.
Ghost Shark.
I don't know Ghost Shark.
No.
Yeah, I would love a Jaws film with the same intensity, or just a shark film with the same intensity as Crawl. I would love take Crawl, just do a shark instead of a
Crawl was so good.
I love that.
We talk every time. Yeah, Crawl finds its way. It crawls into our conversations a lot.
It's my favorite creature movie.
It's so good. My son loves that one. It's so good. I think The Shallows, though, I will say, I think the CGI works because I do prefer practical over CGI, a little CGI, just not all of it. Well, the thing is one of the reasons I think The Shallows was able to do what it did is because of the money that they got to have in it. I mean, that's the biggest thing with CGI is it has to be top dollar or it looks like shit.
Yeah. Is it good?
Crawl with a shark movie called Swim.
Tubi surprises us sometimes. They do have some solid movies, but I'm like,
oh man, their shark catalog is rough though.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
God no.
Okay. Thank. That was my my hunch.
I 100% would support a remake of Jaws for if they did. It would be fair enough.
There you go.
It would be such a much harder, I would have so many doubts if they went CGI because I feel like CGI sharks they're not always super great.
Yeah. No. I think practical base at least, CGI to polish. That's usually the best is when you marry the two.
Yeah.
Under Paris is very CGI, but it worked.
But it's good.
It's good.
It's fun.
It's good.
It's very fun.
It's still very good. Watch it. I was hoping to watch it opening night.
What?
I know. But the week just got it.
I thought you were going to watch it the day it came out. We were on it the day before.
I was hoping. I'm going to watch it tonight, actually.
I think I have zero doubts that you'll like it. It's really good.
Ooh, World War II shark movie.
With practical effects.
That sounds fire, actually. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a Nazi shark, because I feel like that's
done already. I was just about to say, Kat, have you seen Sky Sharks?
No.
It's sharks in the sky. They can fly, and they have guns on them. They're genetically modified sharks.
They have what on them? Excuse me.
They are ridden. It gets better. They're ridden by Nazi zombies.
Oh my God.
It's one of my favorite. Sky Sharks is so good. I cannot. It's so good. And I will tell you this, as off the wall as it is, though, the CGI is not as bad as you would think it was going to be. The sharks, to me, look pretty good considering the subject matter. Okay. It's and I love that they used hammerheads because everybody does great whites. Everybody. But Under Paris is Makos, which I loved. And then this is all kinds of sharks. In Sky Sharks, they use all of them, but you get to actually see some close-ups of hammerheads, which is one of my favorite sharks. And so anyway, I just thought it was really cool. And it's such a stupid, fun movie. It's over and just when you get to the, Tony Todd has a cameo in it. And when you get to the end, you think it can't possibly get any crazier. Oh, just wait. It's so good. It's so good.
Okay, so I'm adding that to my list.
You should.
Of the bad shark movies, because I feel like we're in related territory. What is the worst shark film?
Like worst as in so bad it's fun, or like legit worst?
Like legit, you would say it's the worst that you've
Requeen.
seen.
You probably
No
seen more than I
hesitation,
have, Rachel.
Requeen. That's the worst one. There is no shark in that movie. It's just Alicia Silverstone going through some PTSD from some pregnancy shit in the water. No one cares. No one cares. Like, there's no shark in that movie. And I talk about this all the time. If the shark is on the cover, okay, of the film, it needs to occupy at least 75% of the point of the story. And if it doesn't, don't put it on the cover. It's the worst shark movie I've ever seen. And I got to be honest with you, No Way Up is pretty up there on my list too. I did not like that one.
It's sad.
The grandma on that one was my favorite part. But other than that,
yeah. But I mean, as a shark movie,
as a shark movie, probably the
bad.
worst one I've seen probably was one of the open water sequels.
I didn't like any of those except the found footage one. They're all pretty boring.
What was the found? 3? 2?
3 Cage Dive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they're like, and everybody's like, oh, but the crazy thing about the first one is they were in the water with real sharks. So they didn't get eaten by no sharks. Not a bunch of people died. Boring. That was a boring movie. Hated it.
Yeah, I think for a shark film, you want to have some excitement.
Something. They're just like hanging in the water. They'll see a fin. Who cares?
It's like the shark equivalent of like one of those like ghost hunting shows. Like,
feel that?
What was that? Yeah. Oh my God, it is. Excellent comparison, Steve.
Yeah. Boring.
We're not in it to watch people float around. If they're not getting eaten, I ain't interested. Just not interested. What's your worst one, Kat?
I feel like neither of you have delved deep enough into the like the bad. And I mean like the bad. But Tubi has some of the worst shark movies ever created.
I can only imagine.
And I have seen a good chunk of them. And the only one that so far that I have DNF'd is Sharks of the Corn.
Sharks of the
Oh, I've seen that one. And I also DNF'd it. It's the one where they're like, it's basically just like people having sex in the cornfield, and then there's sharks that show up and chase them around.
There's a hand puppet.
It's that one. You know what? You're right. I forgot about that one. 90210 Shark Attack, starring Jaws.
Okay, but that is one I need to see. That sounds hysterical.
And then there is
we got a
Shark Encounters of the Third Kind, which is really bad.
Yeah, you're right though. I don't really dive into a lot of those because I really prefer serious shark movies.
Like if I know something's going to be horrible, I
probably won't even give it a chance, honestly. But of the ones I've seen, those are the ones that I thought Open Water was.
And then I will watch something. So
there is one that we watched on Tubi that is really good, and it has a terrible name. It's quite entertaining. I think I'm remembering it. Yes. It's called Shark and Saw, Women's Prison Massacre. It sounds horrible, and it's actually legitimately entertaining.
Shark and Saw?
Shark and Saw.
Like Arkansas, but shark.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that one.
It is exactly what you think it is.
Honestly, I don't know what I think it would be. To be quite honest.
Well, women's prison massacre, like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Directed by. Oh my God. Okay.
Did Shark and Saw?
That's. You know what was a good one that I don't really hear that many people talk about was Bait. I really liked Bait. The one where there's like a freak tsunami and they end up trapped in like a grocery store. No?
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's good.
Okay, I'm gonna add that to my list.
That's a good one.
Sounds good.
And then of course I love the 47 Meters movies. Those are really good.
You know what, this summer, I think since
this is the good time.
This will be it. I mean, you got me into like all found footage since I joined, Found Footage
like
Fridays.
I just want serious ones.
Now
You gotta watch
now
Under
we dive
Paris.
into some shark ones.
We've got 2 more that are coming out this summer. We've got Something in the Water, and then shoot, I can't think of what the other one is. There's 2 more that are supposed to come out this summer though, that are shark movies.
Oh, I think Something in the Water is out.
Is it?
I think I remember seeing it on.
No idea. But yeah, I know there's tons of shark stuff. I typically don't dive into it though if there's like I've seen Land Shark. And I've seen some of the versus ones. So like the Sharkzilla or Shark something against the whatever. I've seen a few of those. Something in the Water.
It is great.
Something in the Water was okay, but not. No, don't. See, that's how No Way Up was. No Way Up was like it's all shark, and no, it wasn't.
It was like all just people on a plane.
Yeah, and it's fine if you want to make a disaster movie, just make a disaster movie, but don't put the shark on the cover.
It's just like one of the dangers, right? It's not like.
And it's not even really that big of a danger, honestly.
Not really. But no, they kills like 2. How many people do they kill?
My least favorite part of you know what? I'm not even going to go down that road. Have you seen that one, Kat? No Way Up?
No.
You can check out our review. It's on somewhere.
Somewhere.
Okay.
We haven't pushed it much, y'all.
We were not impressed. Anyway, well, y'all got any other final thoughts on Jaws before we wrap up? Coming up on 2 hours.
No, I mean, I love going back. This sort of seeing these movies again, back to back at the beginning of summer, really sort of brought me back to like my childhood and like the hold that these movies had on me for a while. And so it was really, I'm glad that we're, this was the one that kicked off our.
I think it's like perfect choice to do this one first.
Yeah.
Summer's the perfect time to talk about shark movies.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks, Kat, for coming and talking with us about Jaws.
Lots of fun.
And pushing past your
movies.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to find Kat, her link tree is in the description for this episode. Go follow her on socials, read her books, highly recommend. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our first summer franchise live. Next week, we're doing Alien.
I think we're doing Alien next week.
Aliens next. And we're doing a bunch of these, and then we'll have some reoccurring guests, but different guests, every time. So
I'm happy we're doing Alien too, because we got Romulus coming out real soon.
Yes, which is
trailer was rad.
I love him. The guy I'm so pumped about that. It's gonna be so I'm gonna have to really bust my ass to try to go see that in theaters. I don't get to do that very often, but like that's one I gotta make an effort to go see.
That's gonna be great on the big screen.
It's gonna be so good. Oh, I was gonna add this too while we're talking about Jaws. So I never got to see Jaws on the big screen. I've only ever seen it on TV. So two years ago on my birthday, they did a $3 movie day, and Jaws came back to theaters and was on IMAX.
Yep.
Bar none.
Right. Yeah.
The best theater experience I have ever had. It looked incredible. It was terrifying. It was so much fun to go see that. My best friend took me to do that for my birthday. And it was like, oh my God, it was so good to see something that crazy on like the only other one that I'm like dying to see on a big screen like that is Poltergeist. I haven't had that experience. But Jaws on the big screen, if you're somebody that's never been able to see it on a big screen, please pay whatever they want you to pay. Go see it on a big screen. It is worth every penny that you pay, $3 or $30. It's worth it. Like,
I didn't see it in IMAX. Is awesome. I saw it at a drive-in, which was really cool.
Oh, that would be really cool too. Yeah, still a big screen. Like, and then there's people who do those floaty things where you do
that.
Hell no.
Oh, thank you for
great show. Oh, thank you for stopping by. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, drive-in's fun.
I can see the drive-in being a good that'd be a cool experience.
I see a lot of the drive-in actually. I saw Jurassic Park at the drive-in, which was particularly cool when they're being attacked in the car. And you get that car sounds. I'm like, oh man. But yeah, no. Jaws
but anyway,
a good one.
All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody in the chat for stopping by and hanging out with us and talking about a very iconic franchise. Yeah, that's all we have for this one. So hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. Good week coming up, and we'll see you next weekend for the Alien Live.
Bye.